Hello guys, I thought we would do a bit of a market watch video today and talk about what is on for sale currently on the market. But what I'd also like from you guys is just to see photos and just information on bikes that you guys ride. So if you could send me an email with a photo of your bike and where you're planning on going this year. In the next video, I will talk about watchers rides, and that'll be interesting to see because I have a few people comment on my videos, whatever else, and they'll mention, oh, I've got this bike or I've got that bike. But yeah, it'd be nice to actually put a picture of that bike to the person that's commenting. So yeah, if you could, guys, it'd be really, really interesting. And yeah, in the next video, when I do a market watch video, I will talk about what you're riding and where you're going. So yeah, I'd like a few ideas of where to go this year on the bike as well. So yes, if you could, here is my email address. And it'll be in the description as well. So, yes. Right, let's get on with it, shall we? The first bike I have found is a bike called a Silk 700S. It's a funny old thing, isn't it? It's not the cheapest thing in the world either. £12,000, 11,989. It looks a little bit like an RD, like Coffin Tank RD 400 is what it looks like. But it is a large capacity 653cc water-cooled two-stroke, 140 kilos, so it's light, 4-speed gearbox, and the frame was done by a company called Spondoon. You'll probably know them. They've done a lot of stuff in the past, but we could go into the history of them. We can go into the history of Silk, but I mean, I think in itself that would be an hour-long video, so yeah, it's an interesting bike. It's supposed to compete on a touring type basis, so really it'd be up against at the time of a Suzuki GT750 Kettle, or if you're in the US, that'd be a Water Buffalo, as you call it out there. But I love the look of it. It looks like it's been absolutely adored, but the issue is when you have a problem with something like this, you know, you want to do a carb rebuild or you want any parts whatsoever, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare, I think. So yeah, if you know much about Silks or whatever else, or you've owned one or you know somebody that has, yeah, then let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to see because it's an interesting bike. Any big capacity two-stroke bike, I love, as you can see. 750 triple there. I love, big two-stroke. So yeah, it's an interesting bike, but £12,000 and yeah, when you need parts, I mean, when you need anything, right, is the issue. So yeah, well, let me know what you think of that. I love the look of it, but would I want to spend £12,000 on it? Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one, that one, that's for sure. Okay, going on to the next one. I thought I would do a bit of a cheapie for you guys. It is a Royal Enfield 350. It is only £750, but I think he will take offers on that as well. It's got no MOT, currently registered as Sawn, come with a box of spares and whatever else, so it could be a great little project. You know, you could have a cafe racer project, or just get up and just use it. I mean, to be honest, there's not really a lot that go wrong with them. So they have a very hard life in India and whatever else. So yeah, just being sat in a garage in the UK, I don't think it's going to do it too much harm. But yeah, it probably needs just a good going over. And I think you'll have a good, fun, cheap bike. So I like to throw a few cheapies in there. This is a market watch video, right? So we're not all about, I know you see me, like I've recently been on the massive Goldwing. That's £34,000 by the time you spec it to how you want it. So yeah, but I like all types of bikes, and this is what I say to people. You know, one minute I'm happy riding an old ST1100 Pan-European, like I've got there, that I paid £200 for. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Some more work coming on that this week. Or the Harley Davidson, the full custom Harley Davidson, or the KH there, you know, or the 750 I've got, you know, anything. I'll happily, you know, I might even be riding in a Big Bang R1 or whatever else. So yeah, I'm into anything and everything. Absolutely anything and everything. I've even got a BMX here with an engine in, which is road legal. So yeah, that goes to tell you how eclectic my tastes are. So anyway, yeah, £750 I thought was a pretty good deal. Well, my next choice, for a grand sum of £2,300, I love this little bike. I really like it a lot. It's a 1978 Honda XL250S. It's only done 2,604 miles from new. It's had a recent new chain, sprocket, tyres. It's had a good going over. No funny noises. Tidy for the age. And you know what's great about this? MOT and tax exempt as well. it is going to be so cheap to own this bike. I mean, I can only speak on how much it costs for me to insure, but it's probably around about 40 or 50 pounds a year to insure a bike like that. And then MOT is exempt, but obviously, you know, you have to go over and make sure if it needs anything, you still got to do it. Just because it hasn't got an MOT doesn't mean that you never have to do work on the bike again. You just have to make sure you're the one in charge of that. Then obviously it's tax exempt as well, so there's no costs there. So yeah, for £2,300, you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper. You might even be lucky enough to get it for £2,000. I think you can own that bike, have great fun with it, maybe do a little bit of green laning, or just, you know, even if it's a holiday home bike, if you've got a little holiday home somewhere, how cool would that be to ride about on? It's just had new tyres, as I say, chain sprocket, all the bits and bobs are being done. I just think, yeah, for that sort of money, you're not going to lose any money on it. You know, you can have it for a year or two, and then, yeah, I think you're going to come out of it doing pretty well. So, an interesting bike, and I really like the look of that. So, yeah, that's up for £2,300. Right, my next choice is, as I say, this is bikes I found interesting. This isn't necessarily stuff I would buy, but I must admit that I found this bike extremely interesting. It's a Voxan Boxer VB1 project. I mean, when these first come out, I actually thought they were Ducati engines, but they're not. It's a company called Sedimo who have done the engine. This is 180 kilos, it's 105 horsepower, 74 pounds-feet of torque, so it's no powerhouse. It's enough, you know, power to have fun, but yes, a French company that, to be honest, it looks a little bit like, you know, the J1, J2 or ZX6 or ZX636 type look to it. It's an odd thing, but it's got all the bits on there, all the nice parts. But yeah, this is a project, and again, you're going to have one of these issues of where do I get parts from? It's got an issue with the plastic tank at the moment, and a few other bits, and it's in a few parts. And to be honest, the biggest killer for it is it's on a Q plate, which I always try and stay away from Q plates. You know, I don't mind, you know, I've had plenty, you know, I've had bikes in the past that have been Cat S's, you know, Cat N's, Cat C's, Cat D's. That's all fine because, you know, a bike could be written off for the most silly of reasons, fairings, damage, whatever else. But when you're coming into Q plate territory, that's when you're coming into very dangerous ground, and it's ground I don't like to really tread upon too much, to be honest. Normally, Q is for like the DVLA can't sort of pinpoint a date it was made, or, you know, a manufacturer won't stick a certificate to say, oh, well, we made this in 2010, blah, blah, blah. The engine and chassis was this, so it's a 2010, and then the DVLA could put it on age-related plate, or if the bike has been stolen and they've removed the VIN number, then a new VIN needs to be put on and stuff. So yeah, I think, to be honest, that's the biggest killer for this bike. It might be just because it was such a low production number. It may have come unregistered, and then the company went bust, and there was no way of proving the age, and then that's why it went on a Q plate. I mean, that's very possible. But the fact of the matter is, once it's on a Q plate, it's on a Q plate. You can't go, oh, well, I'll stick a plate on it, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. So, yeah, I think that's its biggest killer. But I just found it very interesting. Would I want to take that project on? Well, again, as we go back to the original Silk 700 we talked about, when you need parts or you need anything, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. I mean, I can't say I've seen many of these bikes about. If you have, or you know someone who's owned one, then please let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know. But yeah, would I put my money in it? Well, at the moment, it's up to around about £1,550. And I'll be watching it to see what it goes for. But I can't say I'm, you know, thinking, oh, I'd stick a bid on for that, because yeah, no, it's a bit of an unknown quantity, that one. I just thought it was very interesting. So, yeah, on to the next one. We have, I tell you what, I really like this bike. It's a Honda CB1100EX. It's a 2020. It has covered 1,200 miles. It is in immaculate condition. £7,250. One previous owner. Absolutely spotless. 2 services by Honda. Yeah, obviously selling just due to lack of use, in candy red, one of the very last made. I mean, I love, obviously, as you know, I love all my old bikes. I love CB750s and whatever else, and I think this gives you the best of both worlds. You've got all the looks, but you've got fuel injection, you've got real reliability. Not saying CB750 isn't, but it's an old bike, and you don't know what you're buying from, who you're buying it from. So, and they could have been messed about with. If you've just had a standard one that's been loved, you're going to have no problem with a CB750. But yeah, with this bike, I just think you get most of all the looks, and Yeah, not really too much of the downsides. And there is a company called Whitehouse. They do a K10 full kit. It isn't cheap. It's around about £3,500, and I think that comes unpainted as well. But basically, you can turn your CB1100 into a basic CB750 exact to look like. It looks incredible, as you can see by the pictures. It looks fantastic with it. Which brings me on to the next one, which was also with this bike at the time, was the CB1100EX, another Honda CB for sale. But this is a special edition Honda and whatever else, aftermarket exhaust and rear shocks and whatever else. But same similar sort of miles, similar sort of age, but he wants £12,500 for it. It's got this little bikini fairing on it and whatever else. And I think to myself, well, I do like that. I think it looks cool, but is it £12,500 cool? Would I rather have the standard bike and then spend the extra and get it to how I want? I mean, you could even have the standard red bike, just put bar end mirrors on it and a few other bits, and then it looks like such a cool bike for that sort of money. I mean, there's probably a deal to be done there at the moment. The market is a bit funny at the moment. So, but yeah, they're just two bikes I found quite interesting actually. Which brings me on to another bike, which is a similar sort of style. It's Ducati GT1000. This has done 14,000 miles. It's 2009 on an '09 plate service history, all that sort of good stuff. He's selling it due to a hip operation. £7,500 for one of these Ducati GT1000s, I think is really good value. May sound expensive for the age and whatever else, but they're quite a rare bike. And they look really cool as well. And you can tell by the type of guy that's owned it. I think he's the type of guy you want to be buying from if you look at those pictures. But it had new tyres recently. It had your usual servicing, and it just hasn't been used due to his health. So I think £7,500. You can keep that bike for a couple of years. You're not going to lose any money on it at all. As we say, talking about new bikes and whatever else. New bikes are fantastic, but you are going to lose some money, and that's just the fact of the matter. Going back to the Goldwing, depreciation is your biggest killer there, but obviously you get a warranty. Any problems, you just take it straight back. So there are plus points of having a brand new bike, and obviously a used bike, when things go wrong, you've got to go and sort it yourself and whatever else, but there's a lot more money to be saved. So yeah, I kind of like that little Ducati GT1000 actually. So it's had ECU updates and whatever else, so yeah, I just think that'd be good fun. Right, I did have to throw something in here for, learners and people who are learning to do the test, or people just want a small capacity bike. I found this little Cagiva Mito 125. So these are 7-speed gearboxes in these, actually. This is a 33 horsepower, so this is the full power version. It's only done 6,800 miles. It hasn't been used for a while, so it needs a bit of recommissioning. It's on for £2,000. It's currently on Auto Trader or Bike Trader, and I just think, yeah, if you're learning or whatever else, you can't ride a manual at the moment. I mean, because when I was riding, I had an RS125, so I know what owning this type of bike is like. It was an Aprilia. I found it in someone's garden when I was 16, and yeah, I convinced my dad it was a good idea. So yeah, we basically had to walk it home about 3 miles, and long story short, it had to go into Motorcycle City, which was a company at the time, or Carnell's, as it was also known, and needed a full engine rebuild. It needed everything, and to be honest, it was still a dog after that anyway. So yeah, owning old two-strokes and trying to commute on them and stuff I used mine to go to college and back. And yeah, I used to have to get a friend to bump start it for me all the time because the battery would always pack up or there was an issue. So yeah, owning 125s, sporty 125s, are not for the faint of heart, because the people who tend to own them tend to be young lads like myself at the time who had owned one, and yeah, they rag the life out of them and spend the minimum amount, and they're sticking £3 worth of petrol in it. So yeah, when it comes to need a service, that's not what they're spending their money on. So, but this one looks like a good straight bike, and for around a couple of £1,000s, spend a bit of money recommissioning it. I think you've got a great little future classic there. So yeah, Cagiva Mito, and it looks like a little mini Ducati 916. So yeah, cool little bike. Right, the next one, you're all going to think I've lost my mind. You're going to think I've gone crazy, but it is a Suzuki TL1000, which isn't the odd bit. It's a Merlin sidecar outfit. I saw this come on eBay and I fell a little bit in love with it. And I think it's not because it's a sidecar outfit. I think it's just because of the engineering that's gone into this. This isn't just some bolt-on strapped to the sidecar. This has been done to the to the nth degree, as you can see with the rear swing arm. As it's even got like a rear car tire on the rear. The Americans love to do that. It's called dark siding. They love to put a car tire on the rear, which makes sense when you've got a sidecar, but not when you've got a motorbike. But yeah, I'm sure a few of you may have done it in the past, which is quite popular, as I say, in the States. But yeah, but all the front forks and yeah, all the work has been done to make this bike a proper sidecar. It's got sort of straight Renthal bars and whatever else on there as well. And the sidecar just looks so high end. And all the plastics that come around it as well, just it looks fantastic. It's sold for £4,100. I mean, if you wanted to go and have something like that commissioned by Merlin, you're talking huge sums of money. So yeah, an interesting bike for £4,100, that's for sure. It might be of interest to you if you've got the good lady who doesn't want to sit on the back. You know, being a pillion, to be honest, it's not really a lot to see, is there? You know, is the back of the rider, and you sort of see either side, but you can't exactly lean over and see what's going on. You know, you're upset the balance of the bike. So yeah, I could understand why someone think, oh, well, actually a sidecar, that might be quite fun. You know, the best of both worlds. Or maybe you want to take your feline friend out. You've got your dog you want to take out or whatever else. I've seen that being quite popular recently. So that's an option, but I think for the money, and I just think how that's been engineered, I just think it's a great thing. And he's only selling it for his father due to ill health. But yeah, it sold £4,100. I just think, yeah, I know it's a bit of an oddity. I know it's a strange one, but I liked it. Okay, on to the next one, which brings me on to a bit more of a market chat, really, to be honest. It's the Honda CBX 1000. This one has sold, I think it sold last night, or a couple of days ago, sold for £10,000 on the nose. It's 17,000 miles, 1979, big six-cylinder bike. 18 months, 2 years ago, this would have been a 15, 16 grand bike easily. And now, yeah, he's struggling to get to £10,000. Had no reserve, that's what it sold for. It looks like he's done a lovely job on this, and it looks like a UK bike to me as well. Actually, it might be a US import. It's got the side reflectors on the side. He doesn't say, but yes, there's a possibility it could be a UK bike. But if not, it's a US bike. Well, it's been fully restored. It's a heavy old thing though, 270 kilos. Yeah, and only 105 horsepower, 53 pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, it's not a powerhouse from that point of view, just due to the weight. Which sort of brings me on to where the market, I think, is at the moment with these sort of old Japanese stuff. I know a lot of people will tell you that, you know, the Norton market and the Triumph market and the old British motorcycle market isn't particularly strong. And that's obviously really down to, you know, the age of the bikes and the age of the people that are using them. You know, I don't think there's so many younger people coming through that want them. So it's just really a supply and demand thing. And I think that is hitting Japanese motorcycles a bit as well. I know a few people might disagree and say, oh, well, you know, you can still get £8,000 for an RD350 or 9 grand for one or 10 grand for an Absolute Minza. Well, they don't sell like they used to. They don't sell as quickly as they did. And yeah, I think this Honda CB is a bit of a litmus test for that, right? It's a big, heavy bike. It's something you may have wanted, you know, when you were a child or when you were younger, you really wanted a bike like this. But now the sort of people that wanted them are sort of mid-60s, getting towards 70. And are they buying 270 kilo motorbikes? Well, obviously there's a few of them out there that are as fit as a fiddle and whatever else. But, you know, the older you get, and I mean, I like my lighter bikes as well. So, you know, I'm thinking, yeah, the market is taking a little bit of a hit, and I think this bike is a good demonstration of that. £10,000 for that. I mean, he must have spent a fortune getting it up to that sort of spec and it looking as nice as it does. And whoever bought that has got a bit of a bargain. And let's be honest, if you try to retail it, he did some good pictures and a good write-up and a good review, I think it's still a £12,000, £13,000 bike. So whoever's bought that has done very well. But yeah, I just think it's a bit of a taste of what the market is like at the moment, even for Z1300s or Z900s or whatever else, any sort of old Japanese big capacity bike. I think they're struggling to sell, you know, not like they were a year or two ago. So yeah, I've definitely noticed a slowdown in the market, and I just really think that is down to just literal supply and demand. There's just too much supply of them now, and I don't think the demand is there, not from younger people anyway, millennials or Gen Z or whatever else aren't particularly interested. I mean, I fall into the millennial category. Obviously, I'm very interested in them, but there's very few people that are, you know, especially at my sort of age. So it's a bit worrying for the market, actually. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you think, guys. Have you got an old classic you've been trying to sell, which, you know, a couple of years ago would have easily have sold, and now it's hanging around and languishing? you know. But yeah, I think that is, I think it's the sign of times to come that, yeah, it is a bit of a slowdown with that. But I suppose the new classics will be stuff like Fireblades and CBR 900s and things like that, you know, stuff that I remember as a kid and whatever else. So yeah, I think the market isn't, I think it's just moving on. It's just getting to that sort of stage now where, you know, 70s, 80s bikes where, I think 80s are still fine, but anything sort of 70s wise and whatever else, I think is slowing down. But yeah, 70s, 80s is on a slowdown. But 90s, 2000 stuff, SP1s, SP2s, all that sort of stuff are great news. You know, even RC30s, RC45s are still great news. You know, anything like that, you know, still money in the bank. So that's really what these sort of videos are about. Is really just talking about the market and all that good stuff. Right, on to the next one. Right, it's actually two bikes. And I put them on this, not two bikes, I'll be honest, I'm particularly interested in, but I just thought they're a bit of an interesting story. We've got one a Kawasaki 675cc and one a Royal Enfield 500, both owned by Vic Reeves. So yeah, he's obviously had a couple of bikes made. The Royal Enfield I'm not particularly fussed about. It looks good, it looks cool. £6,000, am I that fussed about it? No, not really. I struggle to see too much value with that bike, but it looks cool. The Kawasaki I prefer, the 675cc Kawasaki, looks great. It says Cafe Racer. To be honest, it's more of a sort of flat tracker style, really. It's a good looking bike. I mean, does it being owned by a celebrity, you know, add any value to it? No, not for me. It doesn't. Not at all. And it depends, obviously, on who's owned it as well. You know, if you're talking a Bruff Superior that was owned by T. Lawrence, then yes, that's a different kettle of fish. But, you know, if you're talking about buying Katie Price's old Range Rover, then no, you know. So, yeah, I think it depends. And I think it depends on the story as well, you know. So yeah, for me, it's never held much water if it was owned by someone, you know. I mean, if it's owned by a celebrity, then you 10 times, you know, 9 times out of 10, you think, oh well, they've got a bit of money, you know, it's probably been looked after, it's had the kitchen sink thrown at it, and that's not always the case. It just isn't, you know. 9 times out of 10, you know, a lot of people may have got a lot of money and it just sits in the garage and does nothing. You know, these look like they've been looked after, but they haven't been ridden. They were made a good few years ago, and they haven't turned a will and anger since. So, yeah, they probably need a bit of recommissioning before being used. £6,000. I mean, there's a few things on the Kawasaki I would change if I did have a bike like that. I'd change the bars, I'd change the rear seat. There's a few things, but again, with those sort of bikes, it's always going to be very subjective anyway. You know, you do a custom bike like that, you know, not many people are going to like it the same way you do. So, yeah, I thought it was a bit of an interesting couple of bikes that come up for sale. So, yeah, they're on £6,000 each. So, yeah, check them out on eBay currently. They came on yesterday. But, yeah, I'm interested really, guys, in what you've got, what you're riding. So, yeah, please email me. Email me a picture of what you've got and what you're riding at the moment or what you're looking at buying maybe. You know, for the next video, I will go on and I'll talk about what you guys have got and along with a market update. So, yeah, in the next video, I'll do the same sort of thing, talking about what I've seen, because I'm constantly on the internet looking at motorcycles on all types of websites. So, yeah, this is not a difficult thing for me. This doesn't feel like a difficult thing. I'm constantly doing it. So, yeah, I enjoy doing that. So, there you go. But what updates have we got? Well, we've got the ST1100 Pan-European, which you've probably seen a first video of. If you haven't, please check that out. That was a bike I paid £200 for. So I've ordered a couple of fairings. I've got the bike running. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, check that video out. So yeah, that was my £200 Pan-European, which to be honest was because I was test riding the new Goldwing, or a new Goldwing rather. I thought, you know what, those bikes are £34,000. It'd be interesting just to see how cheap can I buy a touring bike for. Obviously, a Pan-European isn't you know, an old ST1100 isn't a comparison with a new Goldwing, but I just thought, you know what, you can still have a good fun touring bike for not a lot of money. So yeah, I'll show you how I'm getting on with that this week as well. And yeah, I just want to be getting out on the K1 as well. I've got to take that for a ULEZ test, which I really can't be bothered to, but yeah, I'm going to have to. I thought I'd be able to stay out the ULEZ zones, but I'm so close to it, which means I can't go right if I come out of my house, but I normally go left anyway. But yeah, I've been caught on a ULEZ camera as well, so I've had to pay a fine for that, which I didn't think there was a camera down. So Yeah, I've got to really get that sorted. But I've added that to an account now, which I should have added my K1 to my ULEZ account, which I hadn't because I didn't think I was going in the zone. But it appears cameras are just springing up here, there, and everywhere now. So yes, I will be doing that. So yeah, I'm itching to get back out on the K1, and I've also bought a motorcycle. It's an absolute boat anchor of a motorcycle. I paid £70 for it. So that will be coming this week. It actually cost me more to have it collected than it did to actually buy the bike. So that will be interesting. It is another old classic. I won't give you too much info at the moment, but there probably won't be much to look at when you see it, or you'll probably laugh. But I thought, you know what, I'll make an interesting video. So yes, I've got that. But I'm more important than what you guys have got. So yeah, please email me. Here's my email address. I'll put it in the description as well. Yes, send me over because your bike may feature in next week's Market Watch video. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.